All right, everybody. I'm about to open up a guitar case. I just took it out of the shipping box. And I'm pretty sure you didn't want to watch that. I know I didn't. But I want to show you this guitar that I ordered from a guy in Joplin, Missouri. Okay? All right, here we go. As you can see, it's going to be a Gibson. And you know I sold all of my Gibsons, acoustics. And so it's been a while since I've gotten one back. And if this one ends up being anything at all, it's not leaving Randy's household. You'll notice it doesn't have a pick guard. He removed the pick guard on it. I'll tell you what it is in just a minute. You can see it is kind of a J-45. And maybe it is J-45. All right. So he did a really good job packing it. The guitar seems to be very carefully remove these things and get rid of these little styrofoam things. Let me see if I can come over here. Now I'm going to show you the sound hole. You can see that orange label in there. This was built in a custom shop in Montana. I don't know how well it's going to focus. But this is a, let me set it on the strings here. There you go, folks. 1950s J-45. Just simply means it was built to the 1950s specs. And as I look at the top of this guitar, you can see my ceiling fan up there. I don't even see a scratch on this. Well, that might be a little scratch. No. Yep, there's a little one right there. A few little marks. This is a used. He had it in the studio, humidified the whole time he owned it. And I'll stop the video there, and then when I get ready to make the video, this will be the beginning of it. We'll open up with this, but I'm excited to play this guitar. Hey folks, welcome to the program. Tonight we're going to talk about a 1950s spec J-45. I picked this up recently, and as a matter of fact, I got it in yesterday. Played it for a little while, started to do a review, backed away from it, and then tonight picked it up and played quite a bit, and just wanted to get used to the guitar a little bit. And I've come to a few conclusions about the 50s J-45 that is produced in a custom shop there in Montana, Bozeman. You can tell from the orange sticker because they don't put those in the factory made guitars. They put them on the custom shop guitars. And you'll notice if you're, you obviously type something in to get here. And if this guitar is one that you were interested in, I want to tell you a few things about it so that you understand what you're getting, okay? Now, I don't know about the 60s because remember they did a 50s spec and they did a 60s spec, okay? I haven't played the 60s. But I will tell you that if this is truly a 1950s spec guitar, and that's what they built it to, then the bracing was different than it is today, which may be a duh moment, right? Duh, it would be a little different in the 50s, I would think. And as a result of that, and the guitar being fairly new, it hasn't had time to age. well. You know what I mean? Like you would like to see out of a 1950s. So I mentioned that because if you went online and you bought a Gibson J-45 that was made in the 50s, actually made in the 50s, you're probably going to hear a different sound than what you're hearing coming out of this, because the guitar hasn't had time to age. The woods haven't, and this guitar I don't think is broke in. So I will tell you, I bought this guitar off of Reverb, and I got the best deal to be had out there that I've ever seen on a 50s spec J-45. So what do I think about this guitar? So as many of you who are subscribed to the channel know, I've owned a J-45 Standard and also had a J-45 Regal, which is about nearly twice the price of a J-45 Standard, and the Regal had rosewood back and sides. I love both those guitars. The modern J-45 Standard, whatever it is they're doing to that guitar, they're doing it right. I have played multiple Standards, and they have a rich, deep bottom end. This does not. Does this guitar have a nice tone to it? Yeah, it's got a nice tone to it. Admittedly, it's not what I was expecting. I was expecting the depth of a J-45 Standard at a minimum. This guitar does not have that. It's a well-built guitar, obviously. Came out of the custom shop. It has all the right appointments on it. It's got these tuners on it that I like a lot. I've got them on that inspired by Gibson J-45. And they have that retro look to them. There wasn't really much on this guitar in the way of any kind of problem. I mean, it had a few little light scratches on it, but for all practical purposes, this guitar was mint. It was kept in a studio in Joplin, Missouri, in a humidity-controlled studio. I changed strings on it, put Martin Retro 12s on it. Thought that might help it a little bit. I put bone pins on it, replaced the pins that were in it. They were Tusk. That's going to brighten the sound up just a tad. But this guitar was a little bright overall. Now, some of you may shoot me for saying this. I hope you don't. But that inspired by Gibson Epiphone J-45, and I can't believe I'm saying this, sounds better than this guitar. It has greater sustain, and I'm not going to say it's better built. I'm going to say it sounds better. I can't believe I'm saying that sitting here holding a Gibson J-45, because I am a massive fan of these Gibson J-45s. I bought this one because I thought, I've got to have another Gibson J-45. I missed my J-45. This was probably not the right choice to replace that guitar. It has a good sound to it. I'm not saying it doesn't. It plays well. It finger styles well. Takes a little getting used to. It's a little different. It's got a fat neck on it. More so like you would see out of the 1950s. Chunky. But I'm accustomed to that. I've got some that are bigger than this. The Silvertone, and that a couple of others I've got over here. That Stella that I had bought, that Scott Baxendale had rebuilt. Those guitars have fat necks on them, so I'm used to fat necks, and I'm okay with that. And I can play a smaller neck, but well, that's up for debate, right? But but I like a fat neck on a guitar, and not terribly fat, but this chunky C that's on here feels pretty good. Okay. But if you're looking at these guitars because you go, wow, that looks really nice in a 50 spec, man, that ought to really knock it out of the park. It really doesn't, folks. It does not knock it out of the park. It does not. It does not sound like what you expect that warmth and depth to sound like out of a J-45. That is not this guitar. This guitar has a good tone to it. It sounds good. Is it worth over $3,000 new by the time you buy it, ship it, get it to you, tax, title, and license out the door? Because if you find one of these in a guitar store, I'm going to be a little surprised. I think the answer is no. It's not worth $3,000. I don't feel as though it was worth what I paid for it now, and I got it for a third of the price. 2/3 of the price. Yeah, 2/3 of the price. And so it's fascinating from that. I can't believe I'm sitting here talking about a Gibson like this. I don't like this guitar. And now I know why I watched about 5, 6, 7, 8 reviews, whatever's out there on these. I didn't see a wealth of them. People would play them. You know, they'd have these guys on. They'd be playing it and so forth. And they'd go, yeah, that's a nice guitar. You know, I should have recognized at that point that it wasn't really making the grade for these folks, you know, that they were hesitant because how do you tell somebody a Gibson sounds doesn't sound bad, but it doesn't sound like the Gibson you expect. This 1950s, in my opinion, spec Gibson, for me, from what I was expecting, was a dud. The guitar is everything the guy said it was. It plays very well. It's beautiful. It's not in bad shape. It's in great shape. But it doesn't sound like it's completely opened up yet, but I suspect when it does, you'll get a little more bottom. You'll get a little more volume out of it and probably more sustain. This guitar does not have the sustain that I would expect from a Gibson J-45. That has to be the bracing and how they did the bracing in the 1950s. Folks, this was, I'm going to sum it up for you. It was a bad idea from Gibson to do this. Now, there may be somebody out there, I did read a few reviews where they said, oh, this is the guitar of my dreams, but then I got to thinking about that. I don't think they've ever played a true J-45 before, because my J-45 Standard that I had was fantastic. It had that punch, it had that bottom. So for those of you that have seen the channel before and watched some of the other reviews, I will tell you that of my Dreadnought lineup, the Epiphone inspired by Gibson Hummingbird that has an orange label in it because it was built in the old Samick factory over there in Indonesia, that is still my sweetest sounding Dreadnought. Okay? My Epiphone inspired by Gibson J-45 is a very close second. It doesn't have the bottom end that the Hummingbird has, but it has some depth to it, substance to it. When you pick it up and you play it, I've got something in my hands here. He pulled the pick guard off the guy I bought it from, which was fine with me because you know how I feel about pick guards anyway. I don't care much for them. I'm not a hard, heavy picker, and I've only recently got back in touch with a pick again. But my first love really is fingerstyle guitar, and I bare finger that. So mahogany neck, solid, mahogany back and side, solid Sitka spruce top, the nitrocellulose finish that they're renowned for. But the bracing is different. And that has really impacted the tone of this J-45. What would have been great if they had put this guitar out with this neck, these tuners, in a standard version. Because this, in my opinion, for a Gibson, is a dud. It just doesn't have the depth that you need out of a J-45. And for those of you that own a Gibson J-45 Standard, you're going to be disappointed, in my opinion, if you pick one of these up. I do not know about the 60's spec J-45 that they've got out. That's got, and these all had massive pick guards on them. So I'm glad the guy took it off. But that's my take on it, folks. Gibson, in my opinion, made a mistake producing this particular guitar. Should have never done it. QC should have never let it go out the door sounding like this. Now, some of you may own this guitar and love it. And if to your ear you love it, that's all that matters. But from my standpoint on YouTube, I have to tell the truth. And I cannot believe that I'm not as crazy about this Gibson as I thought I would be. I thought I'd be beside myself. Matter of fact, I even thought, and some of you may laugh at this could be my last guitar. Well, no. But you get the idea. So, I think what I'll probably do is at some point, I will sell this one to somebody whose ears have problems. I'm just kidding if you like this guitar. I'm just kidding. That's just a joke. And then I'll take that and go pick up a J-45 Standard because I've never heard a J-45 that sounded better than a J-45 Standard. They got that guitar right. Now, it has all of the above. It checks all the boxes. So when you're looking for that warmth and depth that you can't get out of a lot of guitars, the J-45 Standard is really the only one that'll do that job. This J-45 50's Custom Shop, I'm sad to say it is not all that in a bag of chips. It's just that I was expecting the J-45, what it's renowned for, right? And this does not have that. Anyway, folks, I could ramble on more, but I think that would be pointless. I put some clips in and out of this video of me playing the guitar, and I hope that that's giving you some idea. I'll try to get it across as close to what I'm hearing here. But again, if you're looking for depth and punch, you're not going to get it out of this 50's J-45. I get 45 sounding a little different. So if you get a J-45 Standard, you pick up another J-45 Standard, you may notice a little difference, but you're not going to notice this much difference. And it explains, as I said, why the people that were playing this guitar and demoing it either didn't talk all the way through the video, or when they did talk, for those that did talk, they weren't excited about it. And now I know why. Okay? Anyway, take care of your friends, take care of your family. God bless. We'll see you next time.